Their meal and some great conversation. In appreciation for that wonderful meal, please join me in thanking the chef, the kitchen, and the wait staff.
We have now arrived at the part of the evening we've all been looking forward to, the keynote address by distinguished lecturer June Verhelst. June is from Anaheim, Saskatchewan. She discovered engineering in grade 10 when her school selected her to spend 3 days on campus to explore university programs. She spent a day in the College of Engineering and liked what she saw. She graduated with her civil engineering degree in 1983. Since then, she has been committed to the construction industry in Western Canada and played a pivotal role in its continued development and diversification in Saskatchewan. June has been with Graham for more than 25 years and has been a key member of its operations team. She has grown from her role as a project manager to her current position as Senior Vice President, Mining and Energy.
In this role, June is responsible and accountable for the success of the Mining and Energy Division, working with many of Graham's largest industrial clients. Teams deliver on major mining expansions, construction involving greenfield and brownfield mines, as well as power plants. The team works in agriculture, oil and gas, and maintenance and shutdown projects. Above all, June values the people that deliver Graham services. She demonstrates a strong commitment to safety, quality, and controlled delivery programs, which are key to the success of construction operations. June's support for the builders who take on challenging industrial projects and her ability to raise the bar to achieve success are important elements of her leadership.
June currently serves on the USask Engineering Dean's Advisory Board. She is a leader in Indigenous engagement and development across the province, and she also promotes the organization Women Building Futures. She is a board member for 3 of Graham's Indigenous partnerships and brings Graham's deep respect for these partners to her board roles. June believes in supporting community and building strong alliances with educational institutions in Saskatchewan.
Please welcome the 2023 CJ Mackenzie Gala Distinguished Lecturer, June Verhelst.
Thank you, everyone, for all the kind words, and thank you to the college and USask. And this is truly an honor, and I'm so happy to be here with my family, with my colleagues, some of my classmates, some of my professors are here from before, and it's truly an honor to be selected, and I'm hope to do it justice, and I'm a little bit nervous, but here we go. Here's the lecture. So every gathering in business in the industrial sectors has a safety moment to start off, or a value share. And so what I would like to do tonight is just begin with a brief safety moment, and what I would like to talk about is controls. And when we talk about construction, engineering, commissioning aspects, we know that controls save lives. And so what makes controls adequate? We believe that the safety innovation through science is the key to unlocking controls. And so leveraging principles of energy-based safety as well as human performance is an important part. So a control is considered effective if it manages a high energy hazard. And so some of my colleagues in Graham are participating in the Construction Safety Research Alliance, and that is to identify energy sources that present a hazard. And so this hazard wheel that's in the center represents sources of energy, and so the analysis that's done around incidents or potential hazards includes engineering calculations, and that's the science of safety. So the next phase of research is around advancing this understanding of direct controls and create a long-term roadmap with technological, engineering, psychological, and managerial solutions. So I began with my Bachelor of Science at U of S, and I did go to work as a project coordinator on site. My first site was actually at the hotel downtown, the Twin Tower, and that was the tallest high-rise in Saskatoon at the time. And I went from there working on estimates, working on projects, and then I went into project management, and so I got to project manage some jobs like Buffalo Pound Water Treatment Plant and the expansion at Lanigan. It was before it was Potash Corp, and was able to work on that, and I got the industrial bug and kept working on that. So from there, it's important to know, I guess, that when you leave school, you'll start out with the technical role, and then you'll work your way through the technical role into, you know, more managerial positions over time, and so it's important to not skip that step. So operations management is really where elements of safety, quality, environment, all the rest of aspects of business get introduced. So that's a bit of the journey, and then from there, it was pursuits and procurements, you know, bidding on work, and from there I became a general manager, and when I was a general manager, I met my husband Rod, and I married him, and I had two boys, Cole and Matt, while I was already a general manager. So I had 2 pretty short mat leaves in that day because I was already a senior manager, and so that was what was best for my family, and we just kind of kept rolling through that. So I think that this is a long time ago, and businesses, I think, have adapted to, you know, schedules and the aspects of that women have to overcome, and I think that that's an important piece of it. And I promised Suzanne I would talk about when you start out, you get out of school and you're being a project coordinator, you know, and you're working on a site, and then you move to be a project manager, and then you move into operations management, and you're collaborating with trades and, you know, senior people, and then there gets to be a bit of a rub where you start to know more, and then you start to work beside people, and then over time you advance, and you become possibly even their supervisor. And so it's a journey, and it does take a lot of collaboration and a lot of respect for each other and for what each other does. So after my roles through general management, and I was spending a lot of time on mining and energy projects, then I moved to a vice president, and then it evolved into a more of a role where there's mining, energy, and agriculture, and the projects are from Ontario to BC now, so that is different. But I will say that through my career with the projects in Saskatchewan, every time it looked like I needed to leave to go to Fort Mac or to another jurisdiction to grow myself, the projects in the mining sector and the energy sector got bigger. And so I'm a product of the economy, I guess, is how I now have this senior role, and I have a lot of my home bases in Saskatchewan, and I have a lot of teams in Saskatchewan. So I think it's important to note that U of S grads can go anywhere and do anything, and they do. They go around the globe. But what I'm talking about tonight is a little bit about my journey in Saskatchewan. So the capacity growth is important, and the type of projects and the scale of them has escalated over the years. And I was lucky enough to be part of projects that impact the landscape of the province, the skyline, if you will. And major industrial clients and global leaders are actually located right here. And so people can grow their careers with those companies right here. And the health, safety, environmental, and the quality, that's all goes with it. And those are all aspects to look for when you're looking for a company to work for. And collaborating with world-class teams from owners and design teams, I think, is part of the future. So I have a long history with power projects, and I met Mike Marsh. He's another CJ lecturer, and he was the CEO of Sask Power. I met him at Poplar River. We were doing a cold water circuit, and we were having trouble down below, and he was in the basement. He was the project manager, and he was helping us solution the piping and pumps. And so he moved on from that role as a project manager through transmission VP and on to be the CEO of Sask Power. And that's the quality of the U of S grads. And he's also on the Dean's Advisory Board now. So this, I'm going to talk about, keep it short for a couple projects, but this carbon sequestration was the biggest of its scale at the time, and there's a lot of energy transition that is being talked about and embarking on, and we did this here in this province, and there was the grand piece of that was the turbines, the turbine island and the ducts, and we developed supply chain, down in southern Saskatchewan to actually build those ducts, and we assembled teams and we supported the other facility there, and then we went on to do a project with Mike and his team, and that was with Mitsubishi, and somewhere in this room is Tom Kistruk. He was the CEO of Hitachi of the day, and so there was some more technology being developed at Shand, and so we got to build that facility as well. In fact, some of the project managers of both of these jobs are in the room tonight, and it's Sask Power is actually Graham's oldest customer. And potash, you can't really talk about Saskatchewan, construction without potash, and we're showing here some work that's at the well pads at K+S, and of course you can see the head frame for Janssen, and the overland conveyors are there for Mosaic at Esterhazy, and some of that electrical was done for Nutrien at Lanigan. And so the project, probably one of my favorite projects, from a few years ago. This project was done in 2012. It was completed. And it was 2.2 million tons of expansion to Nutrien Quarry. And so there's, conveyors and loadout and crushers and pump boxes and all kinds of aspects to expanding the white mill and adding to the red mill. And Trevor Bergen, he was actually one of the project sponsors, and he's now Senior Vice President of Nutrien for potash operations, and he's also on the Dean's Advisory Board. So there's another U of S grad. There's some pretty cool people that we get to work with. So in the energy sector, there's been SAGDs that have gone up, past Lloyd. There's been, substations, power stations. There's been some Keystone XL. There's been Keystone projects, and there's been, lots of Enbridge projects through the province where that pipeline goes, as well as TC. So we've got to work on quite a few of those, and this ethanol plant we did it was Husky at the time. It's now Cenovus, but this was the biggest industrial job that Graham had done at the time. Full scope. All our work is full scope, but we took the P&IDs from a ethanol provider, and this was actually the first wheat plant in North America that we built there, and hired a Canadian engineer from Winnipeg, and then we had to draw the plant. So we had engineering, procurement, and construction and commissioning was all in the portfolio. And actually, there's people in the room, Mary Stewart, Don Sather, people like that, Ed Couture. They were on this project, and they all worked in scopes on this project, and now they're working on a huge crushing plant in Regina. And so careers get made, and the technical work that people did on this team was huge, and there was a lot of learning, and it's a really good project, and ethanol and energy, it's all evolving, I guess I would say. So through my career, I've been involved in work with the northern mines too, and with partnerships and Indigenous partnership. And one of the favorite assets that we've worked on was the Cigar Lake mine for Cameco. You can see the Orano, the work we did last summer, in their mill on their revitalization. And so there's constantly upgrades going on to these mines. And last year, I think Cameco did their automation of Key Lake, and they had to staff back up to go back to full operations. And so you can only imagine, the number of people that the mining sector needs for that kind of work. So an important part of the work that I've done, an important part in the future is this commitment to build Indigenous capacity. And it lines up with the university's goals, it lines up with engineering's goals, and I've seen partnership used as a way of increasing capacity. Some of our partnerships are sold, the companies have changed hands, like Kojima. Like years ago, it was a different company. Now there's Cameco and that journey. But there's an investment in developing Indigenous engineers and craft as well. And the delivery of major projects and services, if you look at those projects I showed you, those chemical projects, those were all done with Points Athabasca and Athabasca Basin. And so those are all really important commitments and relationships, and they're all done to support capacity increases. So that supply chain development for Indigenous-owned businesses and Indigenous-led businesses is really important to the economy going forward, and we all need to, industry and all the different educational institutions, we all have to partner in that, and we all have a place there in increasing that capacity. So this is a picture from K+S, and when that mine was under construction, Great Plains, which is a partnership with File Hills Capel, and John Desjardins is actually here, he's president of APEGS. He's the GM of Great Plains, and this partnership served the services for K+S through the construction of the mine, and it continues to work there, and it continues to have a role on the well pads and some of the other work that's going on. So there's a lot of opportunity there, and the Niitsitapi Graham one was with Siksika in Calgary, and it was used to support TC Energy and some work in Bassano. So it has a role, and everyone has to play a part, and we have to, as leaders, we have to lead those things, and we have to put some elbow grease in behind that to make it happen. Things don't, happen on their own. So an important part of my journey has been collaboration and, partnership, and this connecting with community partners, connecting with trades, connecting with schools, work with educational institutions, and then those investments is really what brings people capacity to the table. The sector, I guess, that's really coming on in Saskatchewan, and we know it, from producing crops and livestock and stuff like that, is agriculture. And there's a lot of projects in development right now, and some under construction here that you can see. And that sector is absolutely going to take off with some of the investment that we're seeing in that sector on what I would say is value-added processing. And you'll see some of those canola crushing plants producing a byproduct for biodiesel, and so that will drive it. The renewables and energy transition, there's a lot underway, and the wind and solar is very, very busy right now, and Saskatchewan has announced, SaskPower announced actually, that they're adding a whole bunch of renewables to their fleet. So those are things that are happening for you, the students. Those are some of the things that you're going to see, and you'll have opportunity to work on those things if those are things that interest you. So any industry member right now knows that digital transformation and technology is a very important part of our journey going forward. And the technology is moving at a very fast pace, and you can see the size of these assets that we're building, that it's really important to understand your schedule, your investment cost, et cetera. And so a lot of investment has been made on this digital transformation and technology. So 3D modeling, clients are beginning to demand a digital twin of their facilities to understand the maintenance and operation. And construction companies are using these models, and there's a lot more early contractor engagement and involvement with estimating, planning, and scheduling. And work is breaking down into packages, and to foresee the constructability of the packages and identifying access or any issues early on. And then the builders can virtually walk through the plants prior to mobilization in order to hit the ground running. So the models can be visually sequenced in a logical order to form the path of construction and to ensure the entire team is actually clear on what you're building and what the order is. And then facilities and cranes can be inserted into there to actually see where they need to go prior to hitting site. Estimating, it's a new world. Sometimes we don't get drawings. In fact, a lot of the time now we get models sent over, and then we got to figure out how to strip the model, and working on virtual models and the building of a schedule in real time through the model. You can actually see the project getting built when you do your takeoffs and you sequence it. And we would have loved to show you a model, but the problem is that everything is locked down with confidentiality agreements, and opening up some client's model for you and showing you how to build their plant is probably, we just couldn't do that. So Yuri Warwick helped me sort of strip out the content and do it in a PowerPoint way so that we weren't violating any agreements, because nobody wants to see show their competitors their plant. So anyways, I do appreciate the help that I got there. So the drone capture, the 3D images can be viewed side by side to see progress over time, and they can be used to measure cut and fill quantities and for earthworks, and can be used to verify progress. The digital drawings at the workplace, there's iPads and virtual drawings, and that's what's going to the workface now. So some printed drawings have QR codes so they can be connected to the work pack, and drawings can be marked up and redlined in the field on iPads. The planning and timesheet, we're trying to move forward with, and we've implemented already, but the putting your time in on your phone and then rolling it up and doing your timesheet and your quantities of what your crew did in a day and putting it into your phone or your iPad, and then that then would show your progress. Instead of the old days when I started, we did this with a pencil and graph paper. And we walked the whole site, and we counted pipes, and we counted progress. And you can only imagine how much work that was back then. We did everything with a pencil and a piece of paper. So this 3D progress, so when the earned value software is used, you can see here that you can see the progress of your plant any point in time, and anyone on the team can see where the project is at. And so the progress can be verified and audited for any obvious errors. And materials management, the old days where we're looking for stuff in laydowns and snowbanks and stuff like that. So now we've got RFID tags, and they register, and so we can use it for the field to find equipment and materials, and that saves time and money. So the future, it's automated time encoding based on the area of the plant, robotics. I mean, we've had meetings with customers that have robot dogs out there doing things right now, and the future's moving fast, and all that stuff is pretty interesting. The 3D glasses to see where the materials are going to be, and then images superimposed on the 3D glasses so the workers can see where the materials are designed to go. So the 360 imagery is another one, and that's hard hat mounted camera progress that can be measured based on what's installed. So the core, I guess, to achieving, major projects and moving along in your career is really working with people. And I have to say that I've been blessed with some great, people to work with and some great people backing me, and very important to continue to grow people and make investments. So I say you got to start with people from the right schools, and then we got to keep these schools linked to investment and commitment by industry and government. And we have to support our educational institutions to feed the capacity needs, because we're talking about it in every meeting with every client about how much more we need to service this the growing industries in the province. And there are roles for several partners. And USask, sorry, I want to call it U of S because I'm old school, but Sask Polytech, Edwards School of Business, SIT, NATE, SAIT, institutions from other provinces too. And I have seen, and I know the other customers in the room have seen, the value of U of S engineering students, and I know Ron and Jane are backing this all the way, is that the work ethic. USask engineering students are known to be hardworking. They have great qualities, they're humble, they're grounded, they have a technical excellence embedded in them, and their ability to communicate is something that is invested in through their college days. And they're known to excel through technical work to advance to business leaders, executive quality, and there's many examples of that in this room. And we know that they excel in all the sectors that we work in. So there's, for you students that are here and grads that are here, you will be sought after, and you will have great options for yourself to go on your path. So the partnership with the college, like the value that I have seen through my career in participating with them in recruiting, development, training, and then the hard hat ceremony where they take their discipline, the scholarships, all the different events, the different departments, the electrical, the mechanical, and supporting them, and the bridge team, and the automotive teams, and the space team, and things like that. Like, all those investments are well worthwhile, and great people come out of those investments. So the USask Engineering faculty has continued to produce grads with work ethic and skills. And that has happened year over year over year. And that industry feedback and collaboration is a really important part of why that keeps happening. And I have been, over my 40 years, I've been at many, many sessions where the faculty from the college was there saying, what do you guys need? And when will you need it? And what are you looking for? And that really sets them apart. And they really have tried to understand. And I think there's a lot of work and a lot of investment to go forward, but very, very important. So the role of mentorship is very important, and I know that for myself, when I graduated, there wasn't really structured mentorship, but I will say that if you go to an employer and you can find somebody to help you, and even in those days there was people willing to sponsor you through your APEGs, mentorship and things like that. And so now it has evolved a lot, and there's opportunities there's co-op students, so they can actually get mentors out of work terms and keep those mentors as they go. And then there's industry has made some investments in mentorship in programs, not necessarily connected to the educational institution, but to do the same thing. And that companies are now working to make sure those students get those interface with senior executives, and making sure that that mentorship, that the concept of that is that we're hooking onto that. And I would say that when I graduated from engineering, we had a lot of technical skills, but not a lot of business skills. And you know, you see people like Marv Romano here, and it's like, once you get to a certain place in your engineering career, then you have to get some leadership skills and some business skills. And you know, some of the best ways to do that was the Edwards School of Business or other places, and so we sought that stuff out, and that really helped fill out our skills for that. So it's not always about, on mentorship, it's not always about the person that you're working for and getting direct sponsorship. Sometimes you can find it. One of the more valuable mentors I had was someone that was working for Potash Corp before it was Nutrien, through the $6 billion worth of expansions, and it was somebody that was running that program and had a lot of respect for them. And he was really coaching us how to deliver these big projects, because some of the projects that were done then were some of the bigger ones that we had seen. So I think you can find mentorship in different places than just right at your supervisor level. So the diversity, equity, and inclusion, the future is bright. There's a lot of opportunity. I just want to say the road is well traveled. That, where I was the first, woman engineer at Graham 25 years ago, and I was the first woman engineer at another company 14 years before that. You won't have to repeat that. That script we've busted that script. So I would just say that my advice for students is, go work in the sector you want to work in, and good employers will embrace growth and opportunity for you, no matter what, race or gender, and do look for signs that people are thriving in those businesses, and that you can see that those companies are investing and embracing that. So the future, there's a lot of projects been announced, and a lot of it is public. We sign a lot of confidentiality agreements, things like that. So I wouldn't talk about anything I don't think that wasn't in the paper, so I'll keep it pretty light. But 4 canola crushing facilities announced, some underway, some in various stages. And I already mentioned this call for renewables, and Foran is building a copper mine, McKenna Bay, and they're moving ahead. And then Nutrien announced 18 million tons, and we know that Mosaic has got a compaction expansion underway. And we know that K+S has announced some plans to expand their mill over time. We're not sure what the timeline is, but it's if you follow these companies on LinkedIn, you can kind of see their plans that are public, right? And BHP Jansen, well, we have, Simon here tonight and Christoph, and we know that project is moving ahead, and, we're working out there. There's lots of good contractors out there, and it was a long time in coming, but it's full steam ahead, and there's other, phases that are being contemplated, and so there's some pretty amazing opportunities out there. And the next gen is some more uranium work, as well as Denison Mines had announced, and there's others. When you talk about agriculture, and you talk a bit about project like that Diefenbaker irrigation project that the government announced, and it's early days, but 10-year project, $4 billion, and it extends the canal system, and there's actually a website you can look at if you want to understand it better, but it's a huge irrigation project, and the intent there is to try to move ahead with some secondary processing instead of shipping everything away. So the SMRs, definitely the province's SaskPower specifically trying to understand what they're going to do with baseload energy and replacing their coal. And then there's been a barrage of investment from the government on infrastructure in schools, Moose Jaw, Regina, Saskatoon, long-term care. And there's PA, Weyburn, La Ronge, Meadow Lake. So there's a lot of stuff in the works, and there's a lot of opportunity. So if you're a student and you're looking around at these, there's jobs in design, research, there's jobs in construction, and there's jobs in operation of these facilities. And then there's engineering capacity needed in every sector. So engineers are well positioned to drive the future. And so the language that we're talking about in the province, we talk about global critical minerals, we talk about global energy and food security leader, and we talk about us having global companies that are driving innovation, and that is all true. We have that. So to close, I just want to say thank you so much for coming tonight and supporting USask College of Engineering, and I just think that this event is such a great way to connect, and I'm so honored and humbled, and I just want to say thank you, and I'll turn it back to you guys.
Thank you, June. As civil engineering students, it is so valuable to hear from a USask engineering grad who built their career in Saskatchewan. And so much of your career actually involved building Saskatchewan.
As a young female engineer, it was so inspiring to hear from you, June. I aspire to be a leader in the community and industry like you one day.
And I, June, found your career and presentation very insightful as I work towards my career as a young engineer.
Now I would like to invite Dr. Leon Wagner, Professor and Head of the Department of Civil, Geological, and Environmental Engineering, to join us on stage to thank June for her lecture on behalf of the college.
Well, first, let me say thank you to our MCs for this evening, Allison and Dylan. You've done a first-class job in leading us through this evening. And now, June, you have built quite an impressive career. It's quite something, and maybe the opportunity that you've had in this last few months to think about your talk and to think about the career has, I can see how that would have been, well, it would have been astounding to look back and see all that you've accomplished in your career. I appreciate your repeated reference to the people along the way, and it's really important to see how critical that was to your own success. And I think building capacity, as you've talked about, is a fitting description of your professional career. I know that you're not one to seek the spotlight, or you're not motivated by accolades. I'm sure you'd rather be out in the barn with your horses than standing up here talking to a crowd of 500 or 600 people. You've gone about your work with diligence, with focus, with excellent for decades, and have been quietly and effectively building capacity every day, and the impact is clearly substantial. Your dedication to hard work, delivering the outcomes that you've been asked to deliver, paying attention to the details as well as to the relationships throughout your career are an inspiration to all of us here, whether we're at the beginning of our careers or whether we're nearing the end of our careers. So I want to say thank you for sharing your experience with us and for your words of wisdom and inspiration. Thank you. And now I'd like to invite June, if you would come back up on stage, as well as Dean Cresta. And we want to present you with a small token of our appreciation with our sincere thanks.
This brings our evening to a close. Thank you to the discipline of Civil Engineering and the University of Saskatchewan for hosting this event. Tonight would not be possible without those who spent countless hours organizing this evening's program. Thank you to Ian Goodwillie and the External Relations team at USask Engineering.
And thank you again to our dedicated sponsors for supporting this event. Finally, thank you to all of you for attending. Most importantly, thank you again to distinguished lecturer June Verhelst. Good night.